Chief Floyd Simpson in the box, but you wouldn't know it.
I know. I'm listening.
How are things?
The things are busy.
Well, no kidding.
Yeah, they're real busy for us. But
you had a big meeting the other day, the sheriff and everybody.
Yeah, that was right before I went up to Chicago for that.
Oh, it was before
meeting.
or after?
Before.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk about that. Some concerns on were there citizen concerns about that?
About the
how can we be sure that a Ferguson won't happen here?
Yeah, well, you can't be. We can do things to try and prevent, but
News Radio 1360 KKATX 822. City Councilman Mark Scott in the box with Police Chief Floyd Simpson. And I picked up the Sunday paper and I thought, wait a minute. Have we already talked about this? The chief went to a conference of police chiefs, and all the guys from the big cities got up and talked about what they were doing to keep Ferguson from happening.
Yeah.
And then I think you said something last week when the ladies left that
yes.
You had met with some citizens, and we were not going to talk about what transpired at that meeting. And then Sunday I picked up the paper, and there it was.
So what happened was, I guess it may have been 2 or 3 weeks ago, a group of us got together. Sheriff Kalen pulled us all together, did a great job. And kind of the gentleman's agreement at the time was that, no media, we weren't going to talk about this. And to my surprise, 3 weeks later, or 2 weeks later, or whatever it was, I'm being interviewed by a reporter. I kind of thought that was strange. But when I was dealing with the excessive force thing that everybody saw on the video, I pulled together a group of community people, some business people, some clergy, some civil rights people. And prior to the video being sent out publicly, I had to sit down with those people and told them what I was going to do and let them get a pre-look at the video, and then kind of talked about how I was going to, show that to the rest of the city. So the purpose of that is, one, frankly, it gives me a chance to practice. Two, it allows me to capitalize on those relationships. And you and I talked about kind of the Ferguson thing. That didn't happen in Ferguson. I think that's a key thing that should happen. And I had probably 5 other meetings with various entities around the city before I had the press conference.
When you engage in a round table or gathering information from the community, do you always risk the possibility of people who have pent up anger,
sure,
coming and just unloading on everybody? Is that that's not unusual then?
No, that's pretty standard. And what you try and do is to open lines of communications, and you talk through those things in a private way, hopefully so that argument doesn't become public.
Well, if they're going to go down that road, then let me take a detour as well. Mm-hmm. What is the county and the city doing to make sure somebody doesn't get pissed off and decide to cut off the heads of a couple of coworkers?
Yeah.
To me, that's about as ridiculous as the other thing.
Right. I hear
I'm sorry, we're the police. We usually don't get there until somebody calls us.
Yeah, when you look at mass shootings,
yeah,
kind of that was a mass shooting we had. Within 2 minutes is over. And you're right, police aren't going to be there. They'll try to get there as quickly as they can, but by the time they get there, it's done. And so it's, we're not going to be present, unfortunately. 3
people killed. The child is wounded, and the owner of the trailer park tried to separate the people.
Yeah, they had been dealing with kind of some ongoing kind of neighborhood stuff for a while. And I'm sure that management was engaged trying to quell anything from happening. Yeah.
Was it you that was talking about, since we put the garages behind the houses,
yes.
we don't?
You lose. Everybody goes in through the rear of the garage, and you never see them in the front of the house, and people don't talk, which leads me into National Night Out is coming up.
It is.
October 7th is the actual National Night Out. However, we're going to have a kickoff. We'll have a kickoff this Saturday, and I think it's at 3 o'clock over in the Sears parking lot, I believe.
Yeah, National Night Kickoff and Safety Expo, Sears parking lot. That's 305 Airline or 1305 Airline.
Yeah.
3 to 6.
3 to 6.
Free hot dogs, y'all.
Yeah, come on out. So we'll have kind of static displays, and we'll be talking to people about, galvanizing neighborhoods, much like you guys did, Jim. I think yours is still going strong, and it works. I tell you what, it works. And so, yeah, that conversation we had, I guess, nearly 3 years ago, talked about rear garages and how they take away from neighborhoods and people not engaging each other, just going through the rear, and you never see them. So
I have my neighbor that used to live across the street, Reuben, stopped by my house day before yesterday. It was really great to see him again, and
Firefighter?
Yeah,
Reuben,
yeah. Reuben.
You've talked about him for years.
Yeah, he, retired, just a wonderful man.
Sure.
I miss him, because if I had if there was something I needed some help with, and I didn't want to call Hummel, I could.
Right there.
And he knew I'd help him haul off anything he needed to haul off.
Yeah.
But so it was good to see him. But is there a way we can work to do this?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have more than a couple of willing people. Like Cindy Nelms is absolutely the, she gets everybody together to do things.
Yeah, well, we're working it now by talking about it. The only thing we do within the police department is we talk about it. We publicize it. We try to get people to come together in their neighborhoods to watch out for one another, because your personal safety is your responsibility.
Well, it's not only looking out for one another. It's getting to know each other.
Yes, sure.
And you've got an opportunity to find out, we're a whole lot more alike than we are different.
Well, yeah, and I stopped by yours, and you had some pretty good grub, man.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
That was pretty fantastic, and I didn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah, that was very good.
Really good.
Yes.
All right, Chief Simpson in the box, you have a question to comment. The number is 560-5589, 560-KKTX. News Radio 1360 KKTX. Chief Floyd Simpson in the box, and on the KKTX hotline. Ruth, thank you for the call. Good morning.
Good morning. I have a question for Police Chief Simpson.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm wondering if Corpus Christi has a policy as far as like when they're making stops, the use of firearms, when the officers draw and approach a vehicle with the guns drawn.
It's situational. Now, typically they won't walk up with a gun drawn unless they feel threatened. And if they feel threatened, they'll do what we call a felony stop, whereby they stay further back. But at some point, they're going to have to approach the violator if they feel like that there's some cause for them to draw their weapon. Then they certainly can.
Armed and dangerous on the call. What's the code?
Yeah, code. There
are two.
Yeah, I don't know what the code is. If they feel like that they're in danger, then they can call out an assist.
Okay.
And, if they're partners and they're approaching a vehicle and the vehicle, the driver's acting suspiciously, or, it just left a drug house, or there's some need for them to do it, then they certainly can do that based on their level of fear. But just in a normal run-of-the-mill traffic stop up on the freeway, typically they won't.
Okay. Well, this was a situation like where my daughter they may have followed her. She did see them when they came into the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't. I mean, there were no lights on, so she didn't realize that they were behind her.
Yes,
her and her young daughter got out of the vehicle,
mm-hmm.
At that time, the officer approached, asked her if it was her car, and she said yes. Asked them to get back into the vehicle.
Yes.
And at that point, guns were drawn. And so I was just, and, you know, she hadn't done anything wrong. They kept asking her, you know, she knew why she was stopped. How many children did she have in the vehicle? Is that your car? Then they had her, they opened all the doors, had her get out of the car, handcuffed her, wound up. It was a mistake on the license plate.
Yeah.
As far as them having the wrong license plate.
Yeah.
And so she was terrified, petrified, horrified.
Yeah, and I'm sorry that happened, but that does happen sometimes whereby they'll, you know, erroneously key in a tag and it'll pop up stolen or it'll pop up something. So I guess the whole point of that was something occurred that put them on notice that caused them to do that. And certainly if your daughter wants to lodge a complaint, she can do that.
Okay.
You know, if you want, I'll hang on. I'm trying to find as I'm talking here.
Because my other concern is once the doors were open, and I mean there were still several guns drawn, and she's not a big girl. She's like 5'3", 115 pounds, and you know at the same time my granddaughter was left in the car, and thank goodness you know my daughter did everything they asked her to do, but you know had my granddaughter bolted out of the car or anything like that, she could have run into traffic. And so, I you know, as a grandparent, I do have concerns about that
absolutely.
too.
Yeah, and we all should. It's a scary ordeal. But if you would call 886-2798 and talk to a Captain Alanis, we can walk you through if your daughter wants to lodge a complaint. However, you know, it's going to probably not result in anything other than some training to our guys, because it's kind of a personalized thing whereby when these guys are in fear, they have the right to draw their weapons.
Right.
And sometimes, you know, by mistake, they'll put wrong tags in, and this, what we call a bolo, will pop up, or the car will come back stolen.
Well, it wound up being a case of a Texas plate versus a Puerto Rico plate, is the best you could understand.
Yeah, just a weird deal. I'm sorry that happened,
Okay.
but certainly you can, you can have your daughter contact Captain Alanis at 886-2798.
Okay, and I think it might give her a peace of mind, too, sort of a thing. Okay, I appreciate your answer. Thank you very much.
Thanks for calling.
Thanks.
560-5589, 560-KKTX. Rob, good morning. Welcome to Lago in the Morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you guys this morning?
We're
Good
great.
morning.
Thanks for the call.
Chief Simpson, a couple of questions. First, I moved here in April, live on the island. I've met some of your officers, great guys. All of them have been great guys.
Thank you.
I'll say that going in. I had a question. My wife had baked some stuff for the fire station out on 361 to take to the firemen. This is about a month ago. I went out there to deliver it, and beach operations there, it looked like some special task force people were there emptying computers out of that operation, and have learned since that some people had been fired, some management people, and wondered if you knew anything about that, if there was...
I know about it, but I'm not in a position to talk about it.
Investigation's still ongoing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, but yes, I know what's going on with that. Yeah.
Okay, you answer that. Second question, I every morning I usually take my Labrador out to run on the beach.
Yes.
Was at the Newport beach or access there and went north from there and just let the dog out and was running. Of course, it's dark, and dog comes back and coyotes following her.
Oh, wow.
And load the dog up, yelled at the coyote. I'm used to being around those animals, ranch work, but just kept coming, got closer and closer. Got to about 20 feet. I'm a concealed handgun guy, but the dog finally convinced it to run off. What are your rights there concerning that wild animal?
If you feel like you're in danger or you're protecting your property and your dog's considered your property, then you're within your rights to do that. You think back to our governor. You know, I think he also was involved in that similar situation. But we've been having some issues on the island with coyotes, and we're working with our Texas Parks and Wildlife people because they're, if it's considered kind of a wild animal like that, then the Texas Parks and Wildlife, they're our partners in that. And, they don't want to kill the animals. They like to relocate and allow them to, exist in their natural habitat. But when they start encroaching on kind of the population, we get concerned.
Well, I think it's probably they lose a fear of people like a lot of animals when they're around them all the time. And I was just curious. I didn't do it. I mean, the animal finally walked away, but got pretty close.
And certainly you're within your rights to protect yourself, your family, and your property.
Well, perfect.
Rob,
Fine.
you're on the beach with your dog?
I'm on the beach with my dog.
And he's not on a leash?
In the county, way down in the county.
Wait. He's
Right.
not on a leash, so you got a Labrador you're using for bait.
There you go.
Okay, I just wanted to know. All right, that's it.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks.
Andy, good morning. Welcome to Lago in the morning.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Thank you both for your service to our community.
Thank you.
I had a comment and a question for Chief Simpson
Yes, sir.
about the Ferguson stuff.
Yes, sir.
My comment is, back when it was really hot and heavy, the liberal media was really pumping this narrative that black people had to have a conversation with their kids about the police. Well, I'm a white guy, and my parents not only had one conversation with me, they took several opportunities to tell me to respect and obey the police. And growing up, I was a bit of a knucklehead, and I had a few run-ins, and I was always respectful, and I never had any major trouble because of it.
Yeah. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, which was pretty tough. And we had police all the time, in my neighborhood, and we had those conversations. I think it's a good conversation for anybody.
Sure.
Yeah.
And my question for you is, I kind of feel like the protesters in Ferguson just aren't buying into the whole belief that you have law and order in a society. I was kind of wondering what your take on it was.
Yeah, I think there are mistakes all the way around. I think government made some mistakes, and certainly there are some activists that probably added fuel to the fire. And seemingly Ferguson is now the hub for some national, movement or recognition. Even the president chiming in about distrust with police, and so I just think there's statements being made, and Ferguson is the catalyst for those statements.
Sure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
There was a policeman got shot, Ferguson, on Saturday night.
Shot in the arm, and it had nothing to do with the protests.
No.
I guess there were people loitering around some community center or some pool or something when it was closed. Then, of course, the police are out doing what they do, and from what I understand, a gun was drawn on the officers, and shot was fired. He got hit in the arm, and I think he returned fire.
And the crowd that had been rather rowdy, all of a sudden calmed down after shots were fired and more police showed up.
Yeah, it's. I don't know what it's going to take to bring order there, but I think it's got to be a lot of work around the table, or some kind of way. Find out who the leadership is in this group if you can. I don't know if there is a leader, which makes it more difficult, and there just needs to be some conversation going on.
How do you get that started?
I don't know. That's the whole.
You could have town hall meetings.
Yeah, that was the whole point of the conversations we had in Chicago. You can't wait till the event occurs and try to catch it.
I know, but
you've got to do that work early on.
It's almost like you have to go pick them up and bring them.
Yeah,
and then sit down and talk to them, and then they bring some old baggage with them that they want to talk about, and progress is never made on. Listen, we really need to work on getting to know each other a little bit better.
Yeah,
because most people are so busy, with their lives, and trying to do the right thing that they're not really thinking about all this stuff that you think is happening to you. And it's not just a section of society. It's everybody that I don't know, has tried and not been rewarded with the success that they think they should be rewarded with.
Sure. We hope.
Did that make any sense?
We hope
No?
tried. I think I followed you.
Okay. News Radio 1360 KKTX. Corpus Christi Police Chief Floyd Simpson in the box. And we've got dash cams, and you've got body
body
cam.
mics. Yeah.
Body on 100 officers or so?
Yeah,
More coming.
I think it's about 87, and we're going to get more. And this was before Ferguson, so I have to give kudos to our district attorney, Skirka, who went out and got a grant. And the grant was based on our battles against family violence, and boy, do we need that. If you look at kind of some of the issues we've been dealing with lately with family violence, and what we're aiming to do is there are times when complaining witnesses who have been abused will say, "I don't want to do anything. I'm going to drop the charges." But if the case is egregious enough and the DA's office deems it appropriate, they'll move forward, and the state will become, the complaining entity, if you will, and they'll move forward to try to get a prosecution without the witness, and that's what these cameras are about. And thanks to his efforts, we're benefiting from these cameras. We being the community, and I think it's going to help us out. So we've got 87, I think, and we're going to try to up the ante and get more. I'm sorry, I'm told 73. We'll try to up the ante and get more.
There's a sign out here on West Point Road that says you're under surveillance.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? So that became our responsibility when I assumed code. And I guess we should go ahead and tell the world that we've got cameras strategically placed, and we're going to catch these dumpers. And so if you're dumping, we'll get you eventually.
That goes for you folks that just dump those chairs out there. We probably know who you are.
Sure.
One more thing before I quit. It's and it goes along with police stops. I came to understand a lot better after I went through the Citizens Police Academy.
Yeah.
Just what the dynamics of a stop, like the lady whose daughter.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. We have a tendency to think very short term, and it's their first opportunity to have interaction with police officers when they pull you over. It is, of course, not their first pullover of the day. And some of the things that go horribly wrong on those stops are just a really good thing for you to be able to think about every once in a while.
Sure.
Because it's when it gets dark,
that's scary for the police officer.
That's almost a crapshoot.
Yeah.
And I heard you say, well, it depends on their fear factor. I thought maybe it was more on their experience of what they have gone through on stops.
And that's kind of one and the same. Yeah.
Keep your hands where they can see them and
stay in the car.
Yeah, stay in the car.
Yeah, and so there's some things that we want to talk to the young lady about, and I think it'll help her later on. Hey, real quick before we get off the air, I wanted to talk about the PAL, CC PAL dove hunt, sponsored by Valero, Lonesome Dove Ranch this weekend. I think it starts around 10 o'clock, and it'll go probably to sundown, and we'll be out there. Valero totally funds CC PAL. Last year, I think they raised over $100,000. This year was $120,000 goal, and I think we'll very easily make that. but great event, and if anybody's interested, I think the information is on our police webpage.
All right. Would you
we invite people up.
Email Alanese and get that. We can put it up for the for the rest of the week. All right, Chief, I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Mark, good luck today.
Jim, thanks.
Yeah, I'll see you,
tomorrow night.
Tomorrow. Yeah. And have yourself a Bluebell Country Day. Dr. Rose should be really interesting tomorrow. You know, one of the things he was talking about is a Ebola problem, and it looks like it's following the road that Dr. Rose said it was going to take. Have a Bluebell Country Day.